All right, everyone. Hopefully, yes, we are live now. We were live a few minutes ago, Dan, so we were not late, but LinkedIn, for some reason, didn't allow us to go live. We had to make a new event, so hopefully people are finding it. We're going to drop this thing into the chat. Curt, can you I'm not seeing myself live for some reason on LinkedIn yet, but I know we're live. So can one of you guys share this into the in the groups there for us to get going? But hey, if a little thing like this is going to throw us off, Curt, what would we really be?
Exactly, man.
You don't get gray hair like this without running through a few problems.
Far from perfectionist, right? You know,
yes.
I'd have like a full afro if everything went perfect. I'd be like, I'd have a lot of hair, you know?
Yeah. So, but we're working hard to be lazy.
I had I had the big thing going in the 80s. You know how the 80s were, you know?
Yeah.
So right.
Did you? Okay, first of all, let's back up a second there. Did you have
picture it?
Did you have the curls going on?
You know, not really the curls. Just you know what? Okay. You know what was hot back in the day? Feathered, right? Feathered. The
oh yeah, I had that.
Thick, that was get the curly, nice. You know, so yeah. Weren't those good days back in the?
Yeah. You know what? That for us is like women our age going back and seeing that hair that was incredibly big that you just don't know how they made it without, because then too they always had to worry about the flammability factor because
hairspray, right?
Yeah,
right.
And back then people still smoked. You could just blow a whole house up like that.
Exactly. So man, all right, so let's dive right in.
Let's get going.
Fun stuff to discuss. So are we on LinkedIn?
Working hard to be lazy. There we go.
Are we on LinkedIn, do you think?
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn.
Okay, perfect. All right,
so let's go back and look.
Let's dig right in.
I know we are.
Let's so hey, we got Rebecca's here today. Hey, big hair from the 80s with our friend Rebecca. Hey, Rebecca, happy Friday. Damon, you have to connect with Rebecca because Rebecca she's doing a huge project in the state of Washington. She's going to be coming out to Seattle. And so you need to connect with Rebecca. She's a Rexer, part of our Recognized Expert group from Dory Clark, our guest last week. And we have Aline, who runs a mastermind that Rebecca and I are part of on Monday. So we have Aline on Monday. Man, that's going to be a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's going to be great.
Rebecca says that we are live. So, all right, let's dig right in.
Yeah, we are.
This is a super, super exciting program. And what a wonderful opportunity to have David Chrysler on with us today, man. This is like so long overdue, David. Happy Friday. How are you, brother?
Good, man. Thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be a part of the show today and excited to jump into this. I think everybody at one point or another strives to be lazy and strives to find ways to be more effective and efficient. So, call it what you want, right? But at the end of the day, people will try to do as little as possible and still be successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. So here, let me give a little backstory on this. So 100 years ago, I was a situation where I was interviewing somebody. Okay, we needed a manager. It was at a fulfillment center, and so it was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And so I go in, and they're like, "Hey, Curt, you need to interview this person." So I sit down. This woman sits in front of me. I'm like, "Hey, nice to meet you. How are you?" Blah blah blah. We get through the first intros, if you will, and I'm like, "Hey, well, tell me about yourself." We start talking about her background. Within like the first 2 minutes of this interview, and we're hiring her for a supervisor position, and she looks at me dead in the eye and she goes, "Well, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed and I'm really lazy."
Yeah.
I sat there I thought I was being punked. I'm like, I lost my hair. Am I losing my hearing too? I'm like, did she just say I'm lazy and not the sharp? She scoots up in her chair, looks me dead in the eye. She goes, "I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, so I need things very simple. And I'm also super lazy. Why would I put the fastest moving goods in the back of the warehouse? I want them in the front." And she went this whole diatribe. She had me at hello. We hired her, and she completely turned around this huge monster project. And she was just a total rock star. I'm still connected with her on LinkedIn, man. She is just super. So that's our little backdrop joke about, hey, let's be lazy. So David, let's take a deep dive. First, I want to give an intro to everybody on yourself. You've had a phenomenal background on efficiency, lean. You've been production manager, and now you have the Chrysler Club. dig in, share everybody a little bit on your background, your superpower, your passion, what's going on in your world.
Yeah, thanks, Curt. Yeah, I mean, my story kind of starts off, I grew up in an entrepreneurial family.
Nice.
And so kind of saw what it was like to, to grow and to build a business all for yourself. And so, growing up in that environment, as I tell my story, I thought the easy answer was go work for a really big company, because surely they had everything figured out, right? It's way too hard to do your own thing. So let's go work for a really big company. And so I found myself doing that for nearly 20 years and got a lot of opportunities to grow and to really kind of stretch my wings when it came to building out process, learning how to systemize businesses, because the company I worked for grew through acquisition. So I was very fortunate. I was a pretty young guy when I started working for that company, and very fortunate to find a lot of people that saw something in me and continued to give me opportunities to kind of learn and grow. And so coming out of that environment, I really wanted to connect the dots between what I saw when I was growing up and, how hard my parents kind of worked, and the thought process behind what got you here won't get you there. And you don't know what you don't know, right? So when I was working for the company that I mentioned, when we do these acquisitions, most of the time they're, first, second generation family owned businesses. So you kind of saw a lot of similarities in terms of how they ran. And typically it was kind of top down leadership. There weren't a lot of systems within the businesses. They had processes here and there, but they kind of all similar struggle points, right? How do we sell more stuff? How do we increase profitability? How do we engage and empower people to improve the culture? And so it was kind of through those years that I developed really an operations framework to dive into the planning, people, process, and technology that it takes to not only systemize, but to impact profitability, impact culture. And so that's what I do pretty much on a day-to-day basis. I've got an operations consulting business working mostly with manufacturing leaders, helping them create the systems to kind of free their time up, right? So we're talking perfect topic today, but to free their time up to operate with excellence, right? Because that's what we're really trying to do. Grow big businesses. Most people strive to grow bigger business, and if you don't, that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. But for the people that are trying to grow businesses, try to impact their profitability and impact their culture, bringing those things together. That's what I love to do. And so great topic today. Fits in well.
It's always awesome talking with David, because I think back to what I was doing in companies, and it's similar, but it's at a different part of the business, because looking at the business as I had to from the financial / operational part of it, those same processes that you're talking about make your business so much easier to run and manage. And that's what we're really talking about when we talk about working hard to be lazy, because it's not easy building great processes like you're talking, but it's so worth it, because at the end of the day, you get repeatability, you can control quality, and then you really can dominate your competitors in your market, because you constantly have a foundation to build on and keep changing and keep improving and getting a little better every day.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think people also, from kind of a leadership and ownership perspective, can sometimes kind of look at that and say, well, that's what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. But then when you go out to the shop floor and you start to have conversations with the folks out there, 9 times out of 10, you hear the same things, right? You talk to leadership and you hear things like, I can't find anybody to work. These guys, these girls out here, nope, nobody's doing what I need them to do, And when you talk to the people out on the shop floor, 9 times out of 10, you're going to hear things like, these guys in leadership, nobody ever listens to me. I had this idea 3 years ago, and, here we are, we're still doing the same thing. We're still wasting money here. We're still, driving myself crazy over there. And so when I had my corporate role, it was that, kind of learning how to bridge that gap. I understood what kind of what are our goals from the corporate level. And, because I didn't know the people, I didn't know the products, the processes, it was like, all right, well, I got to figure out how to bridge that gap. And the only way to do that was by, engaging and empowering people. And, as I say, I learned it the hard way. I made plenty of mistakes. I was a terrible leader when I was, a young guy because I came out of, top-down leadership. I worked for my family business. It was a second generation family run business. It was like, started in the 70s. You jump how high? Okay. Yes. I'll go take care of that, So
it's awesome. Yeah. Damon, let's give a shout out, man. We've got some.
Yeah, I know. We got so many people.
I want to give
Let's
another
start at the top. We got
as I mentioned, we've got from
Rebecca.
India. We've got Rebecca in Chicago. We've got Ingor is here. Hey, Ingor.
Awesome to see you, Ingor.
And pull up that
Isaac.
Hey,
oh yeah, we got that. That's coming up. David.
King of process, man. Absolutely love it. And we've got.
Is that your hashtag, David?
Well, I think there's a conspiracy out in the LinkedIn land to get me to adopt that. So
I think it should be. I'm gonna write that down, David.
If it wasn't, it is now, man. So
King of process. Just everyone out there that's listening, David Chrysler, hashtag King of process.
That's right. Hey, we've got Nazia from Pakistan.
Awesome.
Very cool. Hey, we've got a question here and guys, let us know that you're here. Let us know where you're coming from. First off, connect with David. Damon, I would love for you to connect with us as well, but definitely connect with David. Boy, you'll be super thrilled and excited that you are connected with David. You're just getting a small taste. He puts out all sorts of videos. We're going to get into that in a second here. And, Rebecca says, and you free up brain space for innovation.
Yeah.
A lot of great conversation here. So do you work with IT vendors or have an in-house team? Do you guys make fantastic discussion? You guys make all the difference. Do you work with IT vendors or have an in-house team? And
it really depends on the companies. I mean, some places have their own, David, you go into some of the bigger ones and they're going to have their whole team. And really for us, it's specialist, right? Because usually a business gets to a certain point and they've got people that are handling the day-to-day kind of stuff. But when you talk about specialized cybersecurity needs or other things like that, there's people you need to bring in, because it's like HR, right? You get an HR generalist is really good, but when you get something that's out of the ordinary, you need to get the right people to help you. Otherwise it can cost you a tremendous amount of money. So
yeah. Oh, all right. So I'm gonna look at that. We love you, David. Not a conspiracy. And so, all right, David, we're gonna get super, super painfully lazy now. I hope everybody's ready. Everybody out there, kick back. It's Friday. It's summertime. Yep. Kick back. We moved our time to lunchtime, so kick back and relax because we're gonna get super lazy right now.
Have that sandwich or salad.
I had the honor and privilege. I connected with you through our dear friend, our beloved Gail, and of course, Ingor here today. So Ingor, happy Friday. Thank you for joining us today. And I was just first time I met you, I was completely blown away by, your determination, your passion. My first question I'd like to dig into. So, if we have solopreneurs, marketers, that's kind of the song that we sing here on Fridays. Take a dive into, you worked at a lot of big companies, as you said, family business, so on and so forth. You're a consultant now, Chrysler Club. Sorry about that. Throwing out my conspiracy from earlier. You said the Chrysler Club. What was it like for you making that transition as an entrepreneur? So if there's anybody out there that is either an entrepreneur now or thinking, man, I'd love to become an entrepreneur, talk about that transition, and then let's dig into some of those hacks or some of those lazy opportunities that we can capture, because it is not easy being lazy as an entrepreneur, is it?
No, it's not. And entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart or for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have any hair left, man.
Right. Well, I'm not too far behind you, man. So for me, I always kind of thought at some point in my life I would want to do my own thing. And, I got an opportunity to buy into a business, which is why I ultimately left my corporate role. And I did that for a year and a half and really enjoyed it, grew that business pretty significantly in a very short period of time. And, as the old saying goes, partnerships are sometimes the only ships that don't sail. And that was kind of the situation there. And so I found myself kind of again, as I tell the story, like sitting at the kitchen table and saying, okay, well, now what? Now what am I going to do for the rest of my, second half of my career?
Yeah.
And, for me, it was specifically about the consulting business. It was really about this kind of ongoing practice that I felt like I had, where I saw time and time again this need from an ownership and leadership perspective to kind of, not just be able to learn some of the things that I was able to learn and experience some of the things that I was able to learn, but also get people to understand kind of that why behind it and give them the tools and support along the way. So that for me is what was, kind of the genesis of starting the consulting business. I get bored with doing the same things over and over again. So this thought process of connecting with different owners and leaders, different businesses all over the US, all over the world. I can now officially say, by the way, that I'm an international consultant. I've, have had one project in Canada. So yeah, that for me, that's a cool thing to say, but it's really that it's the ability to connect with all sorts of different people that have similar issues and to get them to see that there really is a different way to grow your business. And it does not have to be, like kind of what you think about this like the overwhelm and the constant, like putting out fires and, running around like a crazy person, like what we do as, solopreneurs. So,
I'm sorry about that, David.
No,
I just want to show you, this is reality, what entrepreneurship will do to you. I did have dark hair at one time. That's me.
Is that
for entrepreneurship?
Dude, look how handsome you
that talk about feathered hair, man.
Wow. Oh, yeah, we got the feathered hair, we got the whole 9 yards, man. So I was laughing because you were saying something about hair, and I was like, I was thinking to myself, I did not have gray hair once. So I was like, digging in the archives, listening to David. Sorry,
Finger says, what
awesome.
was that? So handsome devil young Damon was, and
that is awesome.
Well, people go. It's like before entrepreneurship, they don't realize that there's a little bit challenging, but as you go, David, I think it's a great example though, your experience and how this has really allowed you to go in and talk to other people and show them what they can do to make it so much easier.
Yeah. I mean, one of the real challenges, Curt, you mentioned kind of talking to the person that is maybe thinking about, going into entrepreneurship or solopreneurship, whatever, kind of trying to build a brand around the knowledge that you've amassed. Right. Mm-hmm. And it is, it's a ton of fun and it is very challenging all at the same time. And, we're talking today about, working hard to be lazy and figuring out those things. And to me, no matter if you're the solopreneur trying to figure out how can I be 10 people, right, without maybe investing in a VA, without maybe investing in team members, how can I do all of these things that I know I need to do? Mm-hmm. Or you run a department, you run a whole company, whatever it is, there's a lot of similarities between how do you go from A to Z in that. And, for me, it again, it goes back to process, right? Like, what's your process to identify where we're spending time, right? Like, that is the key, because all of the time, if you get into a conversation with somebody, it's easy to say, I got so much going on. I'm doing this. But how much time are you actually spending? Right. And then it's kind of like you get blank face because nobody's actually documented it. And, it doesn't have to be something like crazy. It can literally be just a really simple check sheet, 15-minute increments, keeping track of like, what was the task I did? Is it a time waster? Is it something that I love to do? Is it something that is important to do, but it could be scheduled, all of those things.
I just got to say, we need to take a moment of silence here. This is a moment of silence point. It's like, what are you really working on? Right. Because if you want to get lazy, the 80-20 rule never changes. Mm-hmm. If you identify, and it says it right here on my screen, I got a little post-it note, the vital 20%.
The vital 20%.
You want to get lazy. You figure out what those vital things are that you need to do that make the biggest impact. And you said it, David. And I literally was getting chills and goosebumps and everything else because listen, you want to be lazy, cut the crap out that's not getting you any results. Or there's some long-term things you have to think about, but really understand and whittle those things down because other people will waste your time. You will waste your own time. It's a great point.
Let's take a deep dive into that. And Damon, you have to pull up Ingor's, for hashtag feathered hair. You got to pull it up. Look at that. Dude, we got it on the record. And Rebecca says she can relate, David. I'm going international. She's going to Switzerland. And again, Rebecca's doing an amazing job. As a matter of fact, David, you and Rebecca should connect. Damon, you and Rebecca absolutely need to connect because she's coming out your way, I think this month, as a matter of fact, or maybe it was September. But you guys want to connect. And here we've got Gail coming in the house, showing up to hear Damon talk about cutting the crap out. Gail, your ears have been ringing because we've been talking about you a lot. Sending a lot of love to Gail. So David, let's take a deep dive. So, and for entrepreneurship and for the marketers out there, we're chemistry we have and the kind of group we run in and the passion that we all share, we're targeting, helping, trying to move the needle for manufacturers. Okay. And so, Damon, we do our trainings and webinars, workshops with manufacturers. And what we constantly preach is, we'll do a workshop and it's a little bit of like, man, I feel like I'm drinking from the fire hose, right? Like we're talking, e-commerce, digital marketing. And what we love to preach is we're not trying to add more to your plate. If you're not hitting or reaching your goals, and I say this myself literally every day, something is on my plate denying me and depriving me from hitting my goals. So it's not that, now I'm trying to add more to my plate. No, I need to be more efficient, more effective with my time. We need to get lazy. You talked about eliminate, delegate, and automate. Can you just share with that, if this is a good time for this right now, can you just share your expertise on eliminate, delegate, and automate? Man, my pen is ready. Lay it on us, brother.
Yeah. I mean, the next part beyond kind of tracking and analyzing where you're spending time is to put those tasks into one of those three buckets, right? Because my guess is that, again, I go back to you're a solopreneur, you are running a manufacturing, entire organization, you are department team lead, whatever it is. My guess is that there are items you are doing that you can completely eliminate, and nobody will miss them. You won't miss them. The people that you think need the thing that you're doing won't miss them at all. It can be eliminated.
Let's dig into that right now.
Yeah.
Love this.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean to put you on the spot. Do you have any examples, or do you see a common trend with your clients, or is there something that, like, what's something that we could all just thank Lord for David? What could we eliminate on our plate right now?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of different examples. The first thing that comes to mind is maybe something related to email, right? Or reporting, or, some sort of, KPI metric or something like that, where you're trying to, do some data analytics and, blast that information out. Like, again, it gets back to understanding what are we doing with the information. And if the answer is, I don't know, or, I'll give you something better than an example, Curt. The thing that I used to love to do is to actually just eliminate it and see if anybody asks me about it, right? Eliminate it and see if anybody asks, hey, where's that TPS report that you used to send me? You know what I mean? And 9 times out of 10, I'm telling you, you think that it's important, or somebody asks you one time for it. And so it's kind of like, I want this, and it usually works good. Like when you're talking about kind of a hierarchy situation, right? Like maybe not so much as a solopreneur, but like even in that case, you can find things to completely eliminate from your schedule. So yeah, hopefully that helps on the kind of eliminate. The delegate and automate, is probably going to be more along the lines of what people are really putting into categories. And again, you're a solopreneur, delegation maybe could be a bit of a challenge, right? You might have to find a VA. You might have to, kind of like bulk schedule, if you will. That's kind of another way that you can delegate to yourself. Like, hey, instead of going through and doing maybe, emails all day, I actually schedule my emails. I don't do them now as they come in. I have a block on my calendar where I do emails. I have a block on my calendar where I'll respond back to notifications, because as a solopreneur, what you can do is it's that firefighter mentality. Bing, all my notifications went up. Bing, I'm over here. Bing. I turned them all off because I couldn't focus on getting stuff done that I needed to get done. So I turned them all off. And I block schedule now. So if you looked at my calendar, like, it's packed because I am, concentrating on the tasks I need to get done at the time I need to get done. And again, yes, if there's something that pops in that you want to go to, like, it's, you still have that flexibility, right? So, and the last part is the automate. Again, tons and tons of tools out there, whether it's a SaaS tool, whether it's something that, kind of lives in your own ecosystem. Plenty of ways to automate these days, and look for integrations to help you continue on that automation trend.
I think we just need to just take a breath.
All right. So man, did that taste good or what?
Yeah.
Man, it was like
that was like that sweet slice of pecan pie.
Yeah.
With a little bit of ice cream on it.
Makes your toes curl up a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? That was
good.
Delicious.
Was
so,
good.
All right, guys. So let's take a moment here. Damon, do me a favor. A couple of things I need you to pull up, and then we need to introduce our dear friend, my bestie, Wesleyne, here in the house. So let's do this. Pull up Gail's comment: eliminate, delegate, and automate. That's what we're here talking about, guys, today. So David just dropped the mic, dropped the bomb on eliminate, delegate, automate. I'd like to take a deeper dive on automate. Gail has the comment of the day.
Yeah.
I thought about not showing up for work and seeing if anybody notices, David. Let's see how that one works. Right? Now we're getting really lazy there. So, Damon, I'm going to do an intro to our dear friend Wesleyne. Can you pull that picture back up for Wesleyne and Gail to take a look at? So,
oh no, it's turned off. I can't find it anymore.
This dashingly handsome young man that Damon's about to pull up. So,
oh my God.
Guys,
so we were talking about let's preface this first. We were talking about the fact that we really had hair before we started our entrepreneurship journey. And I said, yes, I had hair too before I started to be an entrepreneur. And I did have hair before I started entrepreneur.
Who is that?
That is actually me.
Look at that.
Wow.
That's the best blue steel pose I've seen.
Wow.
Now, Damon, was that the cover of GQ or like what was?
You know what? That was in college sometime. It was one of my roommates giving me hell.
Look at that. Look at the man. You talking about lady killer at South Dakota State.
Oh, not even close. Huh? Not even close. I was,
Okay.
Lady killer with a slide rule in my pocket. That's all it was.
Had to comb in your back pocket. So, hey guys, if I don't know anybody doesn't know our dear friend Wesleyne. Wesleyne, happy Friday, my friend. How are you?
Happy Friday.
So Wesleyne is a frequent guest on the program. We just had a great time. We did a program together this week. And so Wesleyne, sending you tons of love. You are a B2B sales guru. You are a recovering chemist. For anybody out there that happens to not know who you are, can you just give us a little background on Wesleyne real quick, please?
I mean, you introduced me so well, Curt. Recovering chemist focused on working with science, technology, engineering, and specifically manufacturing companies to help them improve their sales processes by empowering and developing strong sales leaders.
Awesome. So David just did a phenomenal job of talking about what can we eliminate off of our plate. You are always challenging me. As a matter of fact, we were just on a call the other day. I think you have a new tool that you're using. You're doing an incredible job of delegating more frequently to your building. Your company is growing. You are hiring. Talk a little bit about, hey, we got Nicole in the house. Talk a little bit about delegating. What are you delegating and any tips and advice that you have for how to be a better delegator?
So one of the things that people think about when they have to delegate is like, but I can do it in half the time. It's going to take me 2 or 3 times as long to teach somebody to do it. But you have to remember that in teaching, that is actually an investment, right? So you think about it like a pot of money. That is a pot of money investment of your time, because it's going to play 10, 100, 1,000x. So if you take 2 hours to train somebody on what used to take you 30 minutes, you are no longer spending 30 minutes doing it ever again, right? And then they train somebody else and they train somebody else. So really, it's literally like our time is money. Whether you're a service-based business or a product-based business, your time is actually money. So if you are doing things that are a heavy weight on you, or you're not that good, or you just don't even enjoy it, you have to find a way to get it off your plate. And then in terms of growth strategies, a lot of times people are like, well, I don't have the money, or I don't have the capital to invest in actually bringing somebody on. But again, this is also a way that you have to invest. If you can get somebody like, I don't even think she's watching right now, but Precious, she is like the most amazing person, because she has taught me that I was terrible at managing my calendar, like absolutely horrible at doing it. Like, I didn't even realize it was a skill. I just thought I booked meetings, but I was overbooking myself. So by 6 o'clock, I was drained and I had no time. Like, I didn't want to sit there and hang out with my kids, make dinner. I didn't want to do any of those things because I was so drained. And now she's like, ma'am, you don't need to do that. Ma'am, your day, you already have 3 meetings today. Ma'am, I'm looking at your calendar. And so like literally the small things that you don't even realize you're not that good at, like allowing someone else to take something off of your plate, it's amazing. So that's kind of my word on delegate.
And ironically, I was just having this conversation about you and how you've just been crushing it by delegating to Precious. And I was having that conversation with my dear friend, Nicole wait. Look, there's Nicole Donnelly is on stage, Damon. I didn't even notice that. Nicole's here. Nicole Donnelly from Donnelly Marketing Group. Happy Friday, my friend. How are you?
Friday. I'm great. It's Friday. It's been a great week. I'm happy to be here with you guys. It's awesome.
Well, okay. We're going to go around. David, I'm going to come to you right next. We're talking about how to be as lazy as humanly possible by being efficient with our time. How do we grow our businesses, whether solopreneurs, building our companies, or most importantly for our manufacturers out there, our friends maybe in the marketing department. Nicole, we're talking about delegating. So share any tips, hacks, strategies at the Donnelly Marketing Group that you're doing to help grow your company from a delegation standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the greatest things I learned recently was that if someone can do it 80% as well as you can, delegate it. And I always keep that on the top of my mind. So usually like every day I'll have like I'll make a list every day. It's just, I have to just like get it out on paper and write it all down, all the things that need to happen. Mm-hmm. And what I do is I go through that list and I say, who can I give this to? And so if I ever am going through something on my list and I'm like, I'm not sure, I ask myself that question. Can they do this 80% as well as I can or better? Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm going to have them do it and let them figure it out. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I don't know. I don't have it all figured out like Wesleyne does, but someday I will. But that's one of my hacks I have when I'm going through my list is I got to write it all down. And then I just go through and just see, okay, who can I send this to? So as much as possible, I'm trying to farm out the list.
Right. Okay. Well,
in that, like what you said, Nicole, it's like what we're doing within our organizations is we're actually mentoring and teaching someone because they get it 80% and then we help them get it to that 100%. And we're teaching them how to be just as excellent or just as amazing as we are. And done is better than perfect. Like this is a motto that we work with. Done is better than perfect. It is done. Period.
I have to tell my clients that all the time. Look, guys, done is better than perfect.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. So I'm gonna give a little analogy, Nicole. I know you love this analogy. It's summertime, weather, it's beautiful, right? So I think Wesleyne kind of like laid out the ice cream in the dish. Nicole came in with the sprinkles. Yeah. David, my friend, could you plop a cherry on top of this? So let's talk put the cherry on top of delegation, being the expert that you are in efficiency of time. What any tips, hacks that you want to share? How do we get lazy as far as delegation goes?
First of all, I want to be the cherry. Why can't I be the cherry?
Cherry on
Dude, I
top.
thought you were like all your posts are about the sprinkles, so I thought you looked.
No,
Let David
You set
be
yourself up for that one, Nicole.
that's true.
the,
I'll
let
take
David be
sprinkles.
the cherry. Come
All
on.
right, all right. You can have
So
it.
lay it on us, David.
I think to kind of tie together what Wesleyne and Nicole are saying, and I totally agree with kind of both points, both of them that in terms of what they brought up. But for me, I think that it's not just spending your time training people on it. It's also figuring out a system that you can access that information further down the train. So yes, it is an investment in people to, train that first person or train multiple people. But I've also found that the most effective way to train people, especially adults, because it's been, proven in multiple studies that adults learn significantly different than younger people, especially kids. But is to, again, I think Nicole kind of hit on this, right? It's the give them the bounds, give them the goal, let them figure it out, right? And what you can do in that part of the process that you're building out is you can allow them to kind of flexibility in creating their own process, bringing it back to you for kind of authorization of it. And once that, kind of you meet in the middle, so to speak, once you've agreed on what the actual process is and how you've lined it out within the system, then you can go to the next step and not only document it written, you can video it. You can create illustrations if you need to. So then it becomes a searchable library that anybody throughout, that process can go back and access it. That becomes kind of the most powerful way to not only delegate, but to ultimately, build in redundancy throughout your organization. So I'll leave it there. I mean, I could keep going, but I'll leave it there so we got some more time to bring in everybody
I
else.
really love that, David. I have kind of a similar process I have with one of my employees where if we need to document a process, I have her do it. If it's something that she does, well, why don't you take a stab at creating the process for this? And she'll, build it out in Monday, which is our project management software. And then she'll bring it to me and say, okay, here it is. And then I can tweak it and say, okay, that looks great. Mm-hmm. I have a question though. And I was talking with Curt about this morning is how do you create a process for like 20 years of intuitively just experience knowing how to like manage an account or a client? You know what I mean? Like it's one thing to manage a process of like, okay, here are the steps that you need to take to, set up a social media account, for example. Mm-hmm. But like, there's so much intuition that comes from experience. Like, how do you pass that on in a systematic way and build a process for that?
So
yeah, I think. Oh, God, Wesleyne. Yeah,
tell me.
This is actually something. I started this even before I knew I needed to do this. So one thing is every single meeting that I have with a client or even internally is recorded, right? And so I literally have like a library of, I don't know, 300 or 400 videos right now. And what I do is I kind of categorize them. And the thing is, we don't even realize what we're saying because we're just flowing. And so when they go back and they're listening to them, they're like, oh, okay. So when this happens, you say this, and then this happens, and then that happens. And then I always challenge people to break it down into the minute detail. My favorite analogy is I ask, well, how do you back a car out of the driveway? I just get in and I go.
Right.
You open the door, you sit in the seat, you put your seatbelt on, you then put your foot on the brake. Then you put the car in reverse. Like we forget that amount of granularity when we're translating things to people. And the thing is, if you tell somebody that doesn't know how to drive a car to do that, if they don't put their foot on the brake, they're going nowhere. If they don't put it in, they don't actually change the gear into reverse, they're going nowhere. So it's like that amount of granularity. And we have to like think about it when we didn't know. So remember those times where we didn't know how to do anything and we were just out there not doing anything. That's really the amount of granularity that we have to have. Okay, so now I'll pass it back to you.
I love that. David, what do you have?
Yeah, I think kind of along those lines, right? I think of it from the standpoint of kind of building in milestones. And what I mean by that is, there's going to be a comfort level that you have with your team. And so what I like to do again, I go back to give them the bounds, give them the goal. When they start to feel uncomfortable, let them make a decision, let them make a mistake. And then from a leadership perspective, you have to recognize that they kind of went out on a limb and made that choice. And, then it's kind of up to you of how do you correct, and not overcorrect. Right. And you have to recognize that you've learned these things over the course of time. So building in those kind of milestones, checkpoints into your process that allows flexibility for people to learn and to make mistakes. To me, that's the best way to pass along the knowledge. Yes, when it comes to documented process, you've got to get granular with it. That's why I said you can document, you could write it, you could create illustrations, you can take pictures, you can take video. And with today's technology, the searchability of all of those things is tremendous. So you can lace those, assets with keywords. And then when somebody gets to a point where they're not sure, they can, do a keyword search. There's a bunch of reference material. And then again, in the kind of greater scheme of what that process is, how that system lines out, you can build in those checkpoints and milestones and say, you know what, when you get to this point, come talk to me. Let's have a conversation. I just want to check in. Where are you at with this? And then you can kind of, guide and recorrect without being involved, right? Like it still doesn't come back to you. You guide, right? Like that's your position as a leader. You're supposed to guide and grow people, right? That's really what you're supposed to be doing as a leader.
Yes, man, mic drop.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
David.
What, you know what? So
Operational.
we've had several moments of silence already. So this was like the dessert. This was the delegation Sunday.
Yes.
The delegation Sunday just tasted so good. Damon, did you have anything that you want to add to this?
Well, Nicole, the thing that I always, and David, just echoing what you said there, I always like to go get a clear. Oh, Wesleyne had to leave.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks for being here, Wesleyne. Is really try to break down what success looks like if you can, on a weekly basis, right? When you're working with a client, what are we getting done by next week? What do we expect? Mm-hmm. Because then, you know what's going on. Hey, it's like, it's either you're doing it or you're not. And so, yes, the 20 years of experience and things, some of the solutions you bring that will be different, but when you're trying to teach somebody how to manage an account, I think it really is about, are you meeting the expectations of the customer? So you have to be clear with it. You have to communicate it clearly. Mm-hmm. The customer needs to agree. You all need to know. So then if we go, we painted the house and mowed the yard, that's what we said we were going to do. That's what we did. Mm-hmm. And get it down to that level. And your creativity then could be, how did we paint the house? How did we mow the yard? Give them ideas and let them do it. But if they need help, like David said, it's just, but knowing what that is. So I'm one of those people. It's like, listen, if we're gonna go 100 miles in 1 week and we're gonna do it in 5 days, did we go 20 miles today?
Right.
And if we didn't, how are we gonna go 22 tomorrow? Because we went 18 today. We got to catch up. And that's when you get people really focused on, this is what we need to do this week or this day or this month.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, all right, as we're coming into we're getting there. Time. I'm like losing track of time here. So, man, this is just so good. I love what Wesleyne said. So, maybe for anybody out there, and if you have any additions, comments, questions, boy, I encourage you, drop that in the chat box. We're here with David Chrysler. You absolutely want to connect with David here on LinkedIn. We have our dear friend Nicole Donnelly, inbound marketing expert. You want to connect with Nicole. Yeah. I love what Wesleyne said. Nicole, I don't know if that resonated with you.
Totally.
The car analogy. We just like, you commute home from work and you're like, I don't remember even driving home. It was just you're on automatic, and that's going to slide right into our next topic. But maybe, just David, being the operational excellence expert that you are, how would you describe brushing your teeth? Well, I take the toothpaste, I open it up. Like if you had to describe that as somebody that's, somebody that's landed on earth for the first time, or your kids or whatever, maybe take that same type of concept. Damon, before we slide into automate, can you pull up Valerie's comment here?
I had to. I was going to. It is so hilarious. Thank you, Val. That is great.
Animal is a sloth, and then Rebecca comes back and she says, "Mine is a bear." Well, hey, Damon, I don't know if you know what mine is, right? It's an
Nope.
eagle, the bald eagle, right? So, all
There
right,
you go.
let's get into automation. So, all right, David, I'm going to come to you this time, right? We're coming right back at you. Guys, if you're just joining us, we're with David Chrysler and Nicole Donnelly, and we're talking about, David dropped a bomb on us earlier, eliminate, delegate, automate. If you're just coming in, boy, please catch a replay, go back and hit rewind. We've had numerous moments of silence. He's just been overwhelming us with brilliance. David, let's talk about automate. What are some tips for either the solopreneurs, maybe Val, or like some of our marketers out there at manufacturers? What are some automation tips that you're instituting either for yourself or for your clients?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of the automation centers around technology, obviously. But, if you listen to me talk, if you've ever listened to me talk, when I break down a business system, I break it down into 4, key categories: planning, people, process, and last is technology. It's always last because technology is really only useful when you understand what are we trying to do from the planning, people, process standpoint. Meaning, when we look for ways to automate, we have to understand what is the process that we are trying to impact, right? Like, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to eliminate potential errors? Are we just trying to become more efficient with this particular process? So, things that you can automate are really endless, right? But if we're talking about marketing, you can definitely automate, content scheduling. That's kind of an easy one to look at. There are so many integrations and tools these days. So if you are, one of my favorite automation tools is Zapier, right? Not a paid plug or anything, but it's a really cool tool with a lot of integrations out there. You can, make integrations between some of your social platforms and your CRM, let's say.
Yep.
Another great automation tool that I found, relatively recently, but has been a huge game changer for me personally as a solopreneur is called LeadJet. And that basically connects LinkedIn to my CRM. So I can, basically blow information right from LinkedIn right into my CRM. It helps me stay organized. It helps me keep track of conversations. So again, the possibilities are really endless there. And two kind of other things I just wanted to share that kind of really touch on all of this and to me kind of bring it home. But it's, Damon, you mentioned it, but it's like, don't make success a secret, right? Like I go into so many manufacturers that are looking to bring in people or trying to grow their team. And, you ask, well, where's your job descriptions? Right. And they hand you this terrible document. It's like, well, how does this person know what success looks like? Right. How do you articulate that to, somebody that you're looking for? And the other thing, Nicole, I think that can help back to where we were talking about is make sure to get that information transfer. You're sharing why you would make this decision versus that decision. Mm-hmm. That's how you can transfer some of that long-term knowledge that you've gained through experience. And I love to do that with my clients. It's not so much I could come in and implement and do it. I love to teach you why would I make this decision versus that decision? Why am I saying this thing versus that thing to get people on board with what I'm trying to do? So just a couple things.
Awesome. Another moment of silence.
God, this is so, man.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you came on.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, Dame, all right, Nicole, we're going to come to you next. Now, we've got Cargo Margos in the house today.
Yeah.
Dame, we've got to give a shout out to Cargo Margos here. Tons of value here. Hot point. Don't make success a secret, right? Of course, we want to stop being the best kept secret. Damon, you have to go back up a little ways up the chat box there. Can you please pull up Gail's comment about the glamour shot?
No.
At 104, go back up a little further.
Rebecca. Yeah.
Rebecca says a
They're
glamour
making
shot.
fun of the picture. Yeah.
Hashtag modelesque. I love it. That was perfect. So
goofy dude. That's what it is.
And Cargo says, hey, would love. So Nicole.
Yes.
You are inbound marketing HubSpot expert. You are just a rock star. You help help your clients stop being the best kept secret. Lots of efficiency, a lot of tools, different SaaS products. I know as we just mentioned, you're a huge fan of HubSpot. What are some automation tools that you love that you're implementing to help your clients become superstars? What do you got for us?
Yeah, HubSpot is huge. So one of the things that we do when we go into a client is we just map out the entire customer journey. Once we have their strategy dialed in and we have a good plan of who we want to target, so much of the time, especially in manufacturing, people think of marketing as just lead gen, but it's absolutely so much bigger than that. Mm-hmm. And so it's so important that you have kind of this ideal customer journey map for your customers that's really mapped out and diagrammed, to David's point earlier. You want to have a reference point to say, this is the ideal customer journey we want for our customers to experience when they work with us, and really mapping that out and using HubSpot or whatever, marketing automation or CRM platform that you're using to build in some, custom email content, task automation, even CRM updates that are happening along the journey the customer's having, from sending out an onboarding email when someone closed one with a video of the founder, for example, to order fulfillment, making sure they're getting notifications when their orders are delivered. And then once that order is fulfilled and delivered to them, what can you send to them after the order's been delivered? That's going to be really relevant at that point of the journey. Maybe they need to get a manual, or you're sending them some sort of a video that shows them how to assemble whatever it is that you're sending. That's going to be really unique to whatever your product is and your service, but really trying to enrich that experience and make it very seamless for your customers so that you're proactively providing them what they need at every phase of the journey with your company.
Oh, that is so good. And this is a perfect segue. I want to slide back to you. So Nicole, you do a phenomenal job. And maybe we should talk about Otter a little bit, right? So you do a great job of capturing video, that content for your clients, manufacturers. David, I want to jump to you. I've been noticing, and I've been trying to stay involved with, you're doing a great job relentlessly putting out videos, high level, just value messages. Talk about your decision process behind those videos, the time, content creation. We were talking about that before we went live. Just share a little bit as a solopreneur, your strategy from content creation and what you're hoping to accomplish with your videos.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been an evolution for me, Curt. I've done a lot of different testing. I've done a lot of different kind of trial and error types of things. And for me, I always knew video was kind of the place I wanted to land, just from the standpoint of, for me, it's kind of the easiest medium. I'm not a very eloquent speaker, or, I'm not a great writer. So for me, video was all about capturing a bit of my personality and also sharing, some of the lessons that I've learned. And so, that was one of the areas, being a solopreneur was one of the areas that I had to figure out my own process to be able to eliminate, delegate, and automate, because I was spending a ton of time. And while I really enjoy it, you have to look at what's the kind of return to your business, right? And so again, lessons learned. But I've gone through each one of those stages in content creation. And for me, it's I can say that it has resulted in business. So it's definitely worthwhile to do. It is the long game, right? I'm working on building a brand that is obviously attached to my name and is a bit of a personal brand, but built all around, operational efficiency, helping manufacturers learn to operate with excellence. And so,
Man, I love that. I love the long game. We just had our dear friend, Dory Clark, top keynote speaker. She was on the program last Friday. We were promoting her book, The Long Game. So I like what you're saying. It's so challenging, daunting, overwhelming. And when we play that reaction game, instead of the proactive, focusing on the long game, we get caught up in the day-to-day mundane things. So and Katie's here today. Katie, happy Friday. Thank you for joining us. Guys, I know we could, Damon, this was
I know.
Good, man. God, this was good.
Yeah, it's great.
We didn't even know who was coming on stage with us today. We just wanted to be lazy. Nicole, super quick. I know we're coming into time. Just share a little bit. You do a great job with Otter. That is a great hack, great tool for folks to use. It is free. Can you just share with everybody, what is Otter and how do you use it for your clients?
Otter is awesome. So it's basically a transcription tool. So anytime you're having a meeting with the client, any meeting whatsoever, you can just use Otter to transcribe the call. And it really works well, especially in marketing, because marketing is all about creating content, to David's point, right? Like you want to be consistently educating your prospects and customers and sharing that knowledge with them in a way that's scalable, so that you're not having to answer the same question all the time over and over again. And video is really great for that. But Otter really allows you to solve two of those problems well. Now you can create written content and then marry that up with a recorded Zoom call, for example, where you're interviewing yourself or someone else that you could then turn into video content. So Otter's just a really great and easy, lazy way for you to be able to get content that you can use. And to our conversation early about training people, right? Like, Wesleyne was mentioning that she uses it to help train her team. And I think that's a really great use case for it as well. So it's just a really, it just takes forever to write things down. Writing a blog post, for example, takes forever. But if you have Otter and you can just record it, it makes it so much faster, more efficient, much easier to create content, coach your team, whatever it is that you need to do.
This is hysterical. So we had a huge project I was doing with Wesleyne and my buddy Jason, who you just met yesterday, Nicole. And there was 4 of us, and Wesleyne couldn't make the Zoom meeting. So it was one of the MEPs, and we're getting like this whole instructional thing on this major project we were doing. I'm there, Jason's there, and our friend Teresa, Damon, Teresa, Nicole, Teresa. We're all in the meeting. Wesleyne couldn't make it. She sent her Otter. So her Otter shows up at the Zoom meeting. A week later, Wesleyne has like this whole broken down step-by-step documentation on what we needed to do. You know what my notes were? They were this. Like Wesleyne wasn't even at the meeting, and like she was so much more organized than I was. It was man, she was so lazy. Yeah. It was just amazing. So okay, guys, let's write down. I know we could be here all day. Oh my God, Damon, this was so good. This was like so better than Jasper. We've got Jasper.ai. I'm trying to train him to listen to me and write posts. Pretty excited about Rebecca. You and Nicole need to connect. So Nicole,
let's connect, Rebecca.
You need to connect, Rebecca. So let's do this, Nicole. Let's. I'll leave you with this. How about this? I'll leave you with this moment. Parting thoughts, words of wisdom. Anything to send off everybody with? What do you have for us as we send off on this Friday?
Oh man, I guess my parting thoughts are like, sessions like this are amazing because they get to learn from so many other wonderful people how they're doing it and how I can do it better. So I just think this is a great way to build community. And I just think the more that we can get conversations like this going, the more we can just mind share with each other. And I've got some really great notes here of things I'm going to take away to my business. I'm super excited to implement. So I would just say my final words are thank you. Yeah, thank you for everyone for what you've shared.
Well, again, guys, connect with Nicole here on LinkedIn, Inbound Marketing. If you need help with HubSpot, you need help with your Stop Being the Best Kept Secret, your marketing initiative, you absolutely want to connect with Nicole. David, dude, brother, I cannot express my gratitude and thanks for you popping in today, just dropping, after, moment of silence after moment of silence. What are parting thoughts, words of wisdom that you want to share with everybody to take away on the weekend here?
Yeah, thanks, Curt. It's been a ton of fun. So thanks for inviting me, guys. When I think about how to sum up the conversation today, it really comes down to, you can't manage what you don't measure, right? Something along those lines.
So Peter Drucker line right there.
Exactly. So, start by documenting where you're at with things, what types of things, can you utilize that documentation to identify that you want to change, and then eliminate, delegate, and automate, right? You can look for ways to reduce the things that you are doing. And again, don't be afraid to just eliminate something and see if somebody ever notices, right? I'm telling you, try it. It's magic. It really is magic. And you'll be shocked that nobody asks, and then you can wait usually weeks or months. And if somebody does ask, you just politely say, oh, well, it didn't seem like you were really doing anything with that information. Right. So I stopped,
It's such great advice. Such great advice. Because I think so
one of my favorites.
We just want to feel like we have to be doing more, right? Like we need to be doing more for our clients and more,
that just stop.
Being productive, being profitable versus or compared to just being busy, man. And if I can master that. Boy, Nelson's here today. Nelson, thanks for joining us. Nice session. Boy, we appreciate you and everything that you're doing, helping manufacturers. You do an awesome job. So Damon, Dude, what a great session.
I know.
And this was phenomenal. So, man, I was really lazy. I didn't even prepare for this. David just,
It was great. It was great. I'm just so thankful for everyone to be in here.
This was so good. So I'm going to wind down on this, hand it off to you, Damon. Everybody, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. David, thank you. Nicole, thank you. Everybody out there today, dropping comments, man, lots of love to you. We just wish you an amazing weekend. Go out there and just keep crushing it. Spread your awesomeness with everything that you do. We have a great guest coming in on Monday. Damon, thank you, brother. Take it away for us, will you?
Well, Curt, thanks so much. I knew we'd have fun today, but I didn't realize it'd be this much fun. And so thanks so much for everyone that was in the comments, that Nicole and David and Wesleyne for getting on stage and honestly just putting up with our goofiness.
That's right.
Part of this. But
real quick, Katie says, did anybody transcribe this? And so this every Friday goes on my website on B2B Tail, and it goes on Damon's website. Yeah. We're super lazy, so we just get the video and transcription, and it lives. So any of these Fridays that you ever want to catch, we had Dory Clark last week. We've had the founder of Reebok on the show. We've had the editor of Inc. magazine, all sorts of rock stars like Nicole and David. So check out my website. Check out Damon's website. So thank you, guys. Thank you.
Good stuff. Well, thanks so much. I'm just going to reiterate, hey, have a great weekend, and we will be back again next week. Thanks, everyone.